In this video, we're going to analyze the events that are happening with Israel attacking Iran and the retaliation and what that means to the region. Now, it's very clear that Trump approves this attack by Israel on Iran's nuclear facilities and killing leadership and killing the scientists at the same time as apparently they're negotiating a deal with Iran. The reason why we say it's approved by Trump because of two things. One, the post that Donald Trump did on his Truth Social saying, I gave Iran a chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told. The United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. And they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They're all dead now, and it will only get worse. There's already been a great death and destruction, but there is still time to make the slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction, just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. The ridiculousness of saying, make a deal, but also killing the people that you're trying to make a deal with. Some of the people that were on the negotiating table trying to negotiate the deal were killed by Israel. How can any country trust the U.S. in terms of the negotiation if the U.S. is helping killing those people that are supposed to be negotiating with the U.S.? There's zero trust now, if there was any other trust before. Now, obviously, if the U.S. is negotiating with Iran on their nuclear capabilities and Israel attacks Iran and kills the people that the U.S. is negotiating with, the U.S. had to give the green light for that to happen. Israel wouldn't take that decision without telling and informing the U.S. And so the U.S. said, go ahead. Now, whatever your take on the Iranian regime is, evil, bad, whatever it is, Trump came and said that he is a peacemaker. And he said that if he was in power, then the Russia-Ukraine war would never have happened. And if he was in power, then the Israel-Gaza war would have never happened. And yet now he is in power and he's allowing this war to escalate and engulf the whole region. And this is going to be bad for a number of reasons. But before I go into that, the other point that kind of confirms that Trump, the U.S. was involved, is now there's a lot of reports in Israeli media saying that actually Israel either used the U.S., which is unlikely, but more likely got help from the U.S. to make an environment whereby the Iranians believe that they are negotiating in goodwill and it will actually lead to something. And so they were very relaxed, the Iranians, which allowed Israel to carry out those attacks that were very significant because not only did they attack their nuclear facilities, even though Iran still has a lot of nuclear facilities, Israel didn't destroy, from what we can see right now, much of it, but they destroyed a lot of the missile launchers of Iran. They destroyed a lot of the military facilities, bases, equipment, ammunition. Not all of it, obviously. Iran has a lot, and we don't know actually a lot about what Iran has. But it also killed a lot of the leadership, a lot of the people in government, very senior in the military, Revolutionary Guards, even scientists. What this is going to cause is Iran now feels like it is under serious threat. And when you threaten a country, obviously there's going to be a strong reaction. Now, Israel directly attacked Iran, and it chose to do so, knowing that there's going to be a reaction. And it's hoping Israel's goal and strategy, because it's not just to kind of destroy the nuclear facilities, because one, according to a lot of the military experts, Israel is unable to destroy the nuclear facilities because they are very deep underground, and Israel doesn't have enough of that equipment and ammunition to actually create severe damage to those facilities. It requires the U.S. to get involved. And so that's the strategy of Israel. Number one is to get the U.S. involved in this war, and it's going to try its best to get a strong reaction from Iran to target U.S. assets. That would be a grave mistake by Iran to do so, because involving the U.S. is what Israel wants. and it will be catastrophic to the region. There will be too many deaths for this. So the first part for Israel is to get America involved in this war. The second part is regime change in Iran. Israel feels like Iran is at its weakest right now. Bashar al-Assad has gone in Syria. Hezbollah isn't powerful anymore in Lebanon. So they don't have their proxies. They can attack Iran. Iran can't do that much damage, according to the Israelis, to them. So this is their moment. But they're not just attacking to remove the military capabilities of Iran to attack Israel. They want regime change. And that's the worry about what's going to happen. Because, again, whatever your take is about whether the regime in Iran is bad or good, I think obviously we can all agree that we don't want Iran to have nuclear capabilities. But as we've seen in Iraq, when Bibi Netanyahu was begging the U.S. to remove Saddam Hussein, which by all measures was evil and killed a lot of his people, but that resulted in America being involved in a ridiculous war that initially America thought they won very easily. It only took a couple of weeks or months, to kind of take over and liberate Iraq, which in other words, in the local language means occupy Iraq. But what came with the problems that arose after that was the civil war that erupted, the insurgency that erupted, that killed hundreds of U.S. personnel, that killed hundreds of thousands of civilians in the region, and it destroyed the country. Same thing happened in Syria with Obama being involved with supplying weapons to extreme factions in Syria to attack Bashar al-Assad because they wanted Bashar to be removed. I'm not going to go into why in this video, but they supplied these weapons and intelligence and support to these extreme religious factions that later became ISIS, all with the goal of removing Bashar al-Assad. And again, no matter what you think about Bashar, evil person that killed his people, this led to hundreds of thousands of civilian deaths in Syria. And that war isn't even over yet because the new leader is a ex-ISIS leader. And it's very clear that the country is going to go into a civil war, a continuation, which has been happening for 10 years, this kind of civil war. This is what they want in Iran, a civil war. And it's not going to pan out like it did in Iraq and in Syria. In Iraq, you had Saddam Hussein, who was a Sunni leader, part of Islam. The two main branches are Shia and Sunni. Saddam Hussein was Sunni, but the majority of the population was Shia. In Syria, it was opposite. Bashar al-Assad was Shia, Alawite, which is kind of part of Shia Islam. But most of the population were not Shia, were Sunni. So you had a leader that was a part of Islam, sector of Islam that wasn't similar to the population. And so the population, it was much easier to fight that leader because they had large numbers of people. So you could supply weapons to that population to fight that leader, and they would fight that leader. But in Iran, the majority of people are Shia, and the leaders are Shia too. And so you're not going to find a civil war to occur in the same manner that we saw in Syria and Iraq, because the population are aligned with the leadership, not in everything that they do. And obviously there's a lot of people in Iran that are not aligned with the religious aspects of the leadership and where the leadership's taking the country, which to a lot of people is backwards. But that's neither here nor neither there in terms of whether, removing the leadership is a good thing or a bad thing. They said that with Saddam Hussein, it's going to be an amazing thing. That's going to bring democracy to the region. It's going to be liberating the people. That did not happen as they said it would. In Syria, we're seeing 10 years of devastation that destroyed the country. So Israel's goal is to bring America in this game. And it is a game for a lot of those U.S. politicians. If you look online, it's insane the way that they're saying, game on, U.S. has to protect Israel. They're already preparing people for this war and trying to get the U.S. involved, which is a disgusting thing to do, to get people to die. Not for their own country, but for another country. The U.S. has a choice to not get involved in this war. But it seems like the U.S. will get involved in this war, whether that's going to be by Iran mistakenly attacking U.S. assets or Iran intentionally attacking U.S. assets because it feels cornered. And that's the problem. Before, they were trying to do diplomatic solutions to ensure that there's a ceiling to the nuclear facilities and nuclear capabilities of Iran. But now Iran's attacked and its leadership is being attacked. And so they're going to feel very, very cornered. And this is what speeds up a country's capabilities. So before, they were saying that we're not going to create nuclear weapons. But they warned that if we are attacked and we feel under threat, then we have no choice but to create nuclear weapons. And so this attack on Iran is going to push them to focus on creating nuclear weapons. The idea is that if they had nuclear weapons, no country would mess with them because they have nuclear weapons. And so this has become an existential threat for Iran that's going to push them to focus on their nuclear capabilities. That's going to push the region into a war that can last years, because now Netanyahu has another reason to hold on to power, because he needs to see this war come to an end, and he chooses when that time is going to happen. It could be a year from now, it could be 2 years from now, it could be 10 years from now. I see a lot of people get excited about the removal of the leadership in Iran. They just feel like it's going to be very simple. Israel obviously has amazing technology, military technology. The US obviously has amazing military technology that could cause massive destruction to Iran. The issue isn't destroying their capabilities. The issue is this idea that we have that, we're just going to make them weaker, and then the people themselves are going to rise up and take over in the same way that we did it for Syria, in the same way that we did it in all these different other countries. I mean, it's failure after failure. Afghanistan, it didn't work out. Libya, they tried to, they removed Gaddafi and the people came, and it's absolutely destroyed country right now. Syria, bloody civil war that killed hundreds of thousands of people, that pushed a lot of immigration to come into Europe and cause an immigration crisis in Europe. We're going to see that again in Iran, possibly. Iranians coming into Europe because of the regional war that's going to happen. Iraq, insane insurgency that happened that killed lots of U.S. personnel, lots of army personnel from different countries, and obviously created a civil war. But Iran is very different because the Iranian people, again, are very much more aligned with leadership compared to Iraq during Saddam's time and Bashar al-Assad, because of the same religion being with that leadership. Now, obviously, Israel and a lot of other countries are going to supply weapons to people on the ground in Iran who are anti-Iranian regime. And there are many of those people that are anti-Iranian regime. Of course, there is. But it's going to be a very long plan of removing the regime. And I don't think it's going to work out as it did in those other countries. The worry that I have is if Iran feels very cornered, and what will it do when it feels very cornered? Because obviously the whole region is there, and America has so many bases in Iraq, in the Gulf states, and Iran is just right there, and it has access. It can attack all the bases, and obviously that would bring America to the game, which would be terrible for everyone involved, except Israel maybe. And that's why Israel wants Iran to attack U.S. assets so that U.S. gets involved. What is disappointing for me is Trump coming in and saying we're going to see peace in the Middle East. Just a few months ago, he came to Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE saying we're going to see the peace. Days of America coming in and kind of being one of those nation builders, try to build the country and bring democracy, are gone. And yet now, a few months after that speech he did in Saudi Arabia, here we are again seeing another war under his time, under his presidency. And this is going to be his legacy, that he started another war. America started another war in the Middle East. Let me know your thoughts about what you think is going to happen now, where this is going to lead. And if you did like this video, then do like, subscribe, or hit the follow button. Have an awesome day.